Hi there! Welcome and thank you for joining us today. The USC Family Caregiver Support Center is pleased to provide this educational video for families and relatives who want to learn more about legal and financial planning as they take care of one or more loved ones. Today's topic will address scams targeting older adults. I'm Jenny Peterson, and I will be your host for today's program. I'm here today representing the USC Family Caregiver Support Center, which serves and supports family caregivers as they navigate through their caregiving journey. The center provides services such as information and referral, support groups, evidence-based trainings, community education, and much, much more to family caregivers seeking help. We like to think of ourselves as a valuable lifeline and important resource for family caregivers. Our center is also home to the Los Angeles Caregiver Resource Center, which is part of the California statewide system of 11 caregiver resource centers. If you happened upon this video by chance and don't know about our center yet, please visit our website at www.fcsc.usc.edu for more information. Better yet, you can sign up for our program right on our website through the yellow CareNav tab on the right-hand side of the page. We know that family caregivers need support, and our center is here for you. Today's presentation will focus on scams that target older adults. I'm sure we've all heard horror stories of crooks who swindle seniors and their families out of their hard-earned life savings. Every year, millions of dollars are lost to con artists who prey upon the vulnerability of older adults. We will discuss how to identify these scams and protect yourself and your loved ones from falling for them in the first place. I'm joined today by Janet Godoy from the LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Ms. Godoy is a supervising investigator in the Consumer Protection Division. Janet, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Janet Godoy. I am a Consumer Affairs Supervisor with the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. I oversee the Consumer Protection Unit along with a co-supervisor. So today, I am excited about talking to you about older adult scams affecting the adult community and also on some precautions to take when it comes to elder financial abuse. Okay, so let me start off by telling you a little bit about our department. To start off with, the Department of Consumer, the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs has served consumers, businesses, and community through education, advocacy, and complaint resolution since 1976. Our mission is to create a fair and vibrant marketplace for consumers and businesses. In Los Angeles County, we serve as a central clearinghouse, you could say a reporting agency for any type of consumer and real estate fraud complaint. Now, what other services does DCBA offer? Well, we are kind of like a one-stop to all sorts of information when it comes to consumer protection. We investigate consumer, elder financial abuse, and real estate fraud complaints. We also mediate disputes between consumers to consumers, consumers to businesses, business to businesses, and a lot of times neighbors to neighbors. So we also have a small claims court advisory program where we provide general counseling in reference to the steps that are necessary in order for a consumer to file a small claims claim. We also provide information to the public on protections that are available when it comes to landlord-tenant rights. And as a matter of fact, we have our rent stabilization ordinance that's in effect for unincorporated areas. We also enforce the Los Angeles County minimum wage on unincorporated areas of LA County, and we serve as a financial empowerment center. We provide guidance and assistance as far as opening up an account, a bank account that is, if you want to start saving money, how to create a budget, and how to go about and start, looking into establishing credit, and opening up a savings account. So that's all the information that we're able to provide. And not to mention, we also provide information pertaining to free tax services. Then we also have our Office of Small Business, who helps small businesses obtain registration, in order for them to be able to register and get certification in order to be able to provide services to LA County departments. And we have the Office of Immigrant Affairs, which serves as a one-stop for any type of LA County resources that may be available to the public. We provide with general information as far as how to go about and apply for those services. So the question that we all ask, how is it that elder financial abuse occurs? How is it that, our older adults become victims of this financial abuse? Well, a lot of times it has to do with in-person contact. It could be anywhere from someone that may have befriended them at a retail store, maybe at a bank, or it could be a family member or a door-to-door sales. With nowadays, everyone pretty much doing lots of business over the phone, who doesn't get a call from a telemarketer? On the computer, it may be that, you may be logged on to Facebook, Instagram, searching the web, and all of a sudden you encounter or come across some type of a suspicious, website, or somebody reaches out to you where they're trying to obtain personal and financial information from you. And of course, the mail. Who does not receive junk mail? We're talking about solicitations for credit card offers for services that sometimes we just don't need. So that's how a lot of this elder financial abuse occurs. Now, before I actually go and talk about older adult scams, at least the common older adult scams that we see coming through our department, there is one that we always get complaints on. And it's unfortunately a lot of times it's already when the fraud has occurred. And that is contracts. Older adults sometimes are pressured to sign a contract without understanding the terms and conditions. Or it could be that they may have negotiated in their language for a service or a product or a purchase. But yet, when the contract was presented to them, it was in English, and they were told, well, you sign now or the offer doesn't stand anymore. It won't be available tomorrow. So those could be considered pressure tactics. So very important. I'm going to go over some tips to remember. Do not rush into signing a contract. If you fully don't understand the contract or what's written on there, do not ever feel pressured. Ask a trusted family member or a friend to help you read and understand the contract before you sign it. Have an attorney review the contract with you. And also make sure that the contract is in the language you understand. If not, you want to seek the assistance of a reliable interpreter to help you understand the contract. Now, keep in mind that here in California, there are protections for certain sale transactions, and also services that do require that a contract be provided before it's signed in the language that it was negotiated. And I'll give you some example of those. For example, automobile purchases. In some cases, extension of credit. And also, let's say, for example, if you are signing a lease that is over a 1 month period, you should be provided a copy of the contract in the language that it was negotiated, before they give you an English copy for you to sign so that you fully understand. But when in doubt, don't sign. Now, another common scam that we get, And it has to do with transferring ownership, transferring your legal rights. Let's say, for example, you are a homeowner, okay? A lot of times, you may be told that in order for you to qualify for certain government agencies, you may want to go ahead and transfer the property out of your name so that you don't have too many assets, to report back on. Or it could be maybe that you're facing some financial difficulty and a family member, somebody may say, hey, why don't you transfer the property over to my name? I will refinance it for you. Once that has taken place, I will put it back in your name. Well, unfortunately, that is not always the case. So we strongly recommend that whenever anyone approaches you to sign a grant deed or a quitclaim deed, that you be very cautious. Anything having to do with your property, you want to definitely always be cautious. If you don't understand what a grant deed, quitclaim deed, or in some cases a deed of trust, which is a document that is used to secure a loan against the property, if you don't fully understand what's behind it, you may definitely be losing the rights to your property. So do not sign anything before you completely understand what you're signing. The last thing that we want is for you to lose your rights to your property and your property either be sold or again being asked to move out. So just one other thing that I want to touch base on. I'm going to go back to property scams. Is like again just a reminder, when you do sign a grant deed or a quitclaim deed, any type of real estate document that is secured against the property or recorded with the registered recorder's office, you want to be very careful because it's not very easy to just cancel or gain title back to your property. There is a process, just the way you signed that grant deed, where most likely you were asked to sign it, notarize it in front of a notary public, right? Sign and have it notarized in front of a notary public. Then it gets recorded with the registered recorder's office. The party who acquired interest to the property would have to do the same. And a lot of times, those individuals, especially if they have a motive behind it, they may not be reluctant to do so. And if that's the case, you may need to seek legal counsel, which can also be very expensive at times, depending if this ends up into a legal battle. So please be aware and be cautious when it comes to signing any type of grant deed, quitclaim deed, deed of trust, anything that has to do with your property, anytime you are signing in front of a notary public. And another big one, because of course, most older adults are retired and work very hard to pay off their mortgages. So most likely their homes are paid off or they have a substantial amount of equity. So a lot of times, family members may come asking to borrow money, friends, right? Or even you may be receive some tips on how to invest, right? And at the time, unfortunately, you think it's smart enough to pull the equity from your home in order to either loan the money to someone or use it to invest in a business or some type of a transaction. But a lot of times the money that you invest, unfortunately, you don't end up getting it back. And especially if you pull that equity from your home, if you are already on a fixed income and you're not able to pay it back, you definitely run the potential of going into foreclosure and having your property sold at auction. So be very cautious when it comes to pulling money from the equity of your home because it does require repayment. And if you don't pay it back, just as if you wouldn't have paid your mortgage, definitely what ends up happening is you can end up in foreclosure. So now a little bit, for example, now we're going to get into these, common scams that occur. And one big one right now is investment scams, um, being the fact, like I mentioned earlier, that, you're an older adult, you're on a fixed income, you may be looking for ways or revenues to have extra money. Maybe you want to go ahead and go on a vacation, or maybe you want to go ahead and remodel your home or make necessary repairs, be very careful when it comes to investing your money, especially your hard earned money. A lot of times, people can approach you to borrow money, like I said, invested in a business transaction, may sound very good, but you have to be always cautious of the fact that what if What if that person does not pay you back the money? What if the investment does not play out the way it was sold to you? In other words, the way it was presented to you, or even that business transaction. So be very wary when it comes to unsolicited offers. Pressure to send money right away while this business transaction is in effect. We have other potential parties that are interested. We need you to take action now. Those are pressure tactics, so you want to be very careful when it comes to that, and those are big red flags. Protect your money. Now, who hasn't received someone coming to their door and knocking, and you look through the little peephole? Who is that? I'm not expecting anyone. Exactly. You're not expecting anyone. So be very careful when it comes to door sales or anyone coming and knocking on your door. If you yourself have not reached out and requested somebody to come and pay you a visit because you are seeking their services, be careful who you're opening the door to, because the last thing that you know, you may end up with a contract, with a financial obligation which you did not need and could not afford. And if indeed, for example, you do end up with some type of a contract, right? Or you do end up with the service, make sure that you fully understand the contract. You ask questions. A lot of times too, these door-to-door salesmen, especially with a lot of like home remodels, you heard about, people coming in trying to offer you savings on how to save on, for example, electricity. Make sure that trying to get you to reduce your energy bill, and they try to sell you, for example, solar panels or energy efficient products, right? And sometimes they may tell you, well, we have a great program. It doesn't require whatsoever any payment from you, but we do need your personal information just to verify that you are the owner and that you do qualify. Well, guess what? They end up taking that information, an application ends up getting created, sent over to a lender. Next thing, you get a bill in the mail for the services that you understood were free. And not until you start looking and inquiring do you realize, wow, I was actually scammed. They took my personal information and used it in order to apply for credit under my name. And now here I am with this debt. And also keep in mind that a lot of times, if a service has been performed, right? And if they say, for example, the contractor, doesn't get paid, you could end up with a mechanic's lien for the work that was performed. And then a lot of times, that may end up in court because of the fact that the contractor feels or believes that we performed the work, therefore we should get paid. So be very careful when it comes to that. If you yourself have initiated a contractor to come and provide you, for example, with estimate on work or do some needed repairs, try and get at least 3 estimates from reputable contractors. One, you want to make sure that they are licensed. You want to make sure that they carry the appropriate insurance just in the event, any worker gets injured. So you want to check and make sure that they are actually licensed with Contractor State License Board. And if you look at my screen here, you will find their contact information. You could visit them online and you could do a search. You could do it under the salesperson name. You could do it under the contractor name. If they provided you with a contract or with the business card, you could also, you're able to look up that information and confirm whether or not, they are indeed licensed with Contractor State License Board and do have all the insurance that is needed to protect their workers as well. So, that's something that we strongly recommend here. And always, please make sure whatever you do, if you do hire a contractor, try not to pay more than the 10%, down payment of whatever the total amount is. Be very careful when it comes to that. Okay. Another major common one that we get is, for example, telephone scams. Like I mentioned earlier, everyone nowadays does work, pretty much all type of business transactions work through the phone. So you're constantly getting calls, and sometimes, without you knowing, you may enter your phone number, through a website because you want to gain additional information. But guess what? A lot of times that phone number is being sold or being rerouted. So you also want to be careful who it is that you provide your telephone number to, because then you can end up getting unwanted phone calls and falling a victim of a telephone scam. So a lot of times what ends up happening is you have these individuals, who call you claiming to be your utility company, stating that, hey, I'm sorry, we're calling Mr. and Mrs. informing you that, we see here that you are delinquent with your utility bill. If you don't pay us right away, we will terminate your services. So sometimes you feel pressured without having to have, the services reconnected, reinstated, you feel pressure to having to pay. And of course, these scammers will demand that you pay them right there and then, and that you use a specific type of payment. A lot of times they want the payment available right away. So they will either ask you for your bank account, your debit card number, or in some cases, they may even demand that you go and you buy like a prepaid card if you don't have a debit card or a credit card. Or they may ask that you wire them the money directly. Those are all big red flags to look out for, because one, for example, the IRS will not be hostile. They will not threaten you. They will not demand payment, especially over the phone. Um, or ask for a specific type of payment or wire to be sent. The same thing goes for utility companies, or let's say even if you're behind with your creditors. So when in doubt, especially if you don't recognize the number, or once you feel pressured that this person is pressuring you into spending money, hang up. But like I tell people, if you're not expecting a call, if you don't recognize the number, or the minute they make an introduction, you're like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know. I don't know any money to the IRS. My utilities are up to date. I have no credit cards. Hang up. Because what their main goal is to keep you on the line, try and get as much personal and financial information from you. And if indeed, if let's say, for example, you are behind with the creditor, you want to call the creditor, or if you're behind with your utility company or your mortgage, you want to contact them directly. And if you don't have the number available, look at your billing statement. The number should be there, and contact them and try to make some type of payment arrangements. And how many nowadays have you not heard about, the grandparent scams? Pretty much every consumer protection agency has put out information pertaining to lots and lots of older adult scams that are out there, and one of them is, of course, the grandparent scam, where somebody posing as a grandchild may call you stating that they're in trouble, that they may, that example, that they're in Mexico and that they can't get across the border because they lost their wallet, and you are so worried, that right there and then any information that they may be asking, you're quick to give it. Stop. Stop. If indeed you do have grandchildren, call them. Call them. Hang up the phone and call them and confirm whether or not this is actually true. And I want to go over a few tips, right? Since we're, having, discussing telephone scams, like I mentioned earlier, do not answer calls from any unknown numbers. Example, don't follow instructions like press 1 to speak to a live person or to get off their call list. Official organizations, utility companies will never threaten to arrest you, demand that you pay them with a specific type of payment, or try and keep you on the line to pressure you to send payment right away. I myself have my landline, my cell phones, my parents' cell phone numbers, landlines registered with the Do Not Call registry through the Federal Trade Commission. It's very simple. As a matter of fact, by calling the number that's on the screen from the phone that you wish to register, you could register it. It's not going to take you more than a minute or two to complete it. It's really fast. If not, you could have a family member or a friend log on to the website, register every known number that you have, just to make sure that you are not receiving any type of phone calls that you have not solicited yourself. And here's a big one. I know that right now, especially during this time, we're getting out of COVID, out of the pandemic, things are kind of getting back to the norm. Well, a lot of times people want to also start interacting more, right? You may be feeling lonely. You may be wanting to make new friends, right? Be very careful, especially when you meet someone through social media or dating websites. A lot of times there is a lot of fraudsters pretending to be someone that they're not. And they will try to gain your trust in order for them to be able to gain from you, right? Whether it be getting some type of monetary compensation from you, where you send them or send them money or pay for some type of a service to their benefit. So be very careful when it comes to social media and dating websites and who you're talking to on the other side, especially if it's someone that you yourself, again, have not met in person, or if a family member has not introduced you to anytime anyone actually starts asking personal information, financial information, or starts right away stating that they're in trouble, they're in a financial hardship, they're in desperate need of help, asking for you to pay for things or to send her upfront money. Those are big red flags, and most likely these are not your friends, but they want to actually gain from you. So be very careful. And when in doubt, if something just doesn't seem right, run it by a family member, a close friend, and always be wary. Wary of anyone who's out of your circle of friends or family. And one other one that I actually wanted to mention of is, for example, phishing scams. Like I said, a lot of times you may be surfing, the web. You may be looking for some type of a product, right? Or just trying to gain more knowledge, right? Who doesn't use Google? We all use Google nowadays. So just be very careful when sometimes you may end up on a website, or sometimes you may end up even, like I said, entering your email, your phone number, and then all of a sudden now you are getting, phishing scams, scams, emails from, you could say, email addresses that appear to be legitimate businesses, or even in your case, your bank or your credit card company, right? And all of a sudden now they're asking for you to verify your personal information in order for them to determine whether or not you may be a victim of somebody trying to defraud you, or they suspected some, irregular activity on your account and they just wanted to verify it. Be very careful with that, because credit card companies, banks, utility companies are not going to email you asking for your personal information. Or it may be that all of a sudden now, for example, because you may have opened up an email that had a link directing you over to, hey, if you want to inquire more about the service, this product, about what this email is about, click on here. And now all of a sudden you have a virus, or somebody's hacking your computer. So be very careful of, any unsuspected, for example, emails that you get. Or a lot of times, we have a lot of older adults that sometimes it's, they're not too computer savvy. You may not be too computer savvy, or you may think that you may have downloaded some type of a virus because your computer's all of a sudden acting up. And instead of you actually maybe walking into a retailer that provides tech support there in person, you end up clicking and you end up on a tech support scam, where now somebody's saying, okay, we have identified, we know what the problem is. Send us $200-300 and we'll take care of this virus. If not, you're going to lose everything, or your personal information is going to be made available to the entire world. So they may try to gain, again, personal information from you, sensitive information, to try and access your account. So you want to be very careful with that. Or they may be asking also that you pay them with a specific type of payment. So be very wary and careful when it comes to you interacting or doing business with anyone, especially when it comes to online. And who nowadays doesn't use, for example, mobile payment applications? It's so easy, right? To log on to download an application, set up an account, and be able to send money instantly to someone. So a lot of these fraudsters, what they'll do is they'll try and keep you, especially if it's a telephone scam, they'll try and keep you on this phone as much as they can. And they're going to run different ways by you to try and get you to send them money. They may even request that you set up a mobile payment application in order to ensure that the money gets to them right away. And they will walk you through the whole process. They will tell you exactly how to download that application, register and set up an account, and send them the money. A lot of times where you see this ad too, for example, is, a lot of somebody may call you saying that you won a prize or a sweepstakes. In order for the prize to be sent out to you, they need the money right away. These are all, fraudsters trying to get access to your money. And this is probably the fastest and easiest way to do so. So you want to be very careful when it comes to setting up mobile payment applications. And if you do, because it is convenient, and this is how you, for example, send money to a loved one or a family member, you want to be very careful that you set up, for example, alerts, with your bank, that anytime, for example, money is being withdrawn from your account, that you get an alert with that amount. So therefore, if there is any suspicion of any fraudulent activity, you're also able to report it right away to your bank. Well, last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, who doesn't get piles and piles of junk mail? I don't know how many credit card solicitations, applications, offers I receive on a daily basis, where I just look at them, don't need it, didn't request it, goes in the shredder. So if you don't have a shredder, make sure you tear that piece of mail into little pieces. Get rid of it. Be very careful, because nowadays, it's so easy for you to receive solicitations, right? Stating, they say, for example, or prices, somebody claiming that you want the Mega Millions, something that looks legitimate from the California lottery, and you strongly believe, okay, I may have one, right? You call the number that's on the advertisement, and now all of a sudden, for you to claim your prices, they're asking for money, for fees. Okay, be very careful that if it wasn't anything that you are expecting, and if it all by means reads as a solicitation or as junk mail, get rid of it, shred it, tear it into pieces. So again, throw away all junk mail. That is my safety tip. And if possible, report if unfortunately you are a victim of a mail scam. You want to make sure that you report it right away to the United States Postal Inspection Service, and also to your local law enforcement or consumer protection agency. Well, everybody asked as well, everything just, seems so legitimate, right? This person was really nice, really cared to hear about my concerns, my needs, But then again, you know, they pressured me to buy this service, this product, or enter into this contract. Be very careful, because for all you know, that could be a scam. So how do you know it's a scam? Well, like my examples, scammers pressure you to act quickly. Scammers request payment in a specific way, like the examples that I gave earlier: gift cards, debit cards, credit cards, wire, right? Or even a mobile application be set up. Scammers will ask you for your personal or financial information, anything that they can get a hold of, in order to be able to gain access to your personal files. And guess what? If you become a victim and you send the money, once that scammer has your money, most likely you won't get it back. Just keep that in mind. Once the scam has occurred, the likelihood of you getting that money back, it's zero. So, but again, if you were recently scammed or suspect that you may have been scammed, and let's say, for example, you paid with a credit card, you want to dispute it right away with the credit card company and cancel that credit card. If you paid with a gift card, you want to contact the gift card retailer or merchant right away and report the fraud and suspend that card. If you wired money, you want to immediately contact the company you use for the wire. The sooner you report it, the faster they're most likely able to stop that wire, because once that wire, gift card, or charge has been cleared, it's going to be very hard for you to get that money back. And of course, if you paid with an electronic bank transfer, you want to contact your bank immediately. And if you paid with the money order, you can actually place a stop payment, as long as you could place a stop payment and hopefully that money order has not been cashed. I mean, there are immediate recourses you can take, but a lot of times these fraudsters are really quick not to waste any time and cash out on your money. So please take all precautions necessary. And one of the things that I wanted to add, it's very important. This is something that I strongly recommend to everyone. There's a reason why your bank sends you bank statements. There's a reason why your credit card company sends you credit card statements. For you to review them. If you yourself can review them and you have a trusted family member or a friend, have them review those bank statements, credit card statements with you. Make sure that all the transactions that appear on you were actually approved and done by you. If they're not, you need to dispute them right away with your bank or your credit card company. You have 60 days to do that. Approximately 60 days, I want to say, for most creditors and bank transactions. Because if you don't, those become permanent charges, and later on you may not be able to dispute them or try and get them reversed. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about LA County services that are available for you. If you suspect or believe that you yourself or someone you may know may be a victim of some type of elder, physical, or financial abuse, I strongly recommend that you don't think about it twice. You report it right away to Adult Protective Services. You could also report it to local law enforcement, or you could even contact our office. And we will definitely make that report, but it's really, like I tell people, don't wait till it's too late. Report any type of elder or when it's physical or financial abuse immediately. Don't let time go by. If you are a homeowner and need any information pertaining to the assessed value of your property, you could contact the assessor's office. If, let's say, for example, you're a homeowner and you have not received your property tax statement, and my property taxes are due and I have not received them, you definitely want to contact the treasurer and tax collector just to confirm that they have been sending you your property taxes, and to make sure that nobody has fraudulently maybe acquired title to your property or provided some type of change of ownership form to the treasurer tax collector, where they are now receiving the taxes because they've acquired ownership to your property. So that's something that I strongly recommend to homeowners. you know when your property taxes are due. If you don't receive them, during the specific time frame, you want to make sure that you call the treasurer tax collector. Or if you are facing some type of financial difficulty, contact the tax collector, contact the treasurer and tax collector to learn about any type of programs that may be available to assist you if you are having some type of a financial hardship. Now, some helpful resources that I want to share with you. And these are federal agencies that actually put up really good information pertaining to, for example, identity theft, cyber crimes, online scams, and um, protections, consumer protections. One of them being the Federal Trade Commission. If you suspect or believe that you may have been a victim of identity theft, you can actually report and get assistance on how to go about and report that identity theft. They have a lot of good, helpful information. You could even prepare or learn how to prepare an affidavit giving your statement as to whether or not, uh, these charges were done by you, how to dispute it, how to contact local law enforcement, how to dispute it with the credit bureaus and with the creditors. But like I always said, if you are a victim of identity theft, you need to right away report it to the creditor. Whoever it is that issued that credit, you want to report it right away and let them know that it was not you who initiated it, so that they're able to cancel the whether it be a credit card or a line of credit, and look into it. So you want to be proactive. You want to act quick when it comes to identity theft. Also, if let's say, for example, you received some solicitation in the mail, or you may have become a victim of a scam, whether it was, for example, like an online transaction, you can actually also read online transaction, or like a purchase that you made, or like, for example, like the romance scam and so forth. You could also report those to the Federal Trade Commission. I included here two of their websites. One of them is for the identity theft, and the other one is where to report fraud. Then we also have the Federal Bureau of Investigation, where you can also report financial fraud or internet scams. What they'll do is they put out also a lot of good information and reporting as far as what scams are out there, like cyber scams. One of the big ones that I was reading on, was, for example, the romance scams, and investment scams. So you could also learn a lot about that through visiting these websites. And if you have become a victim, or you know of anyone that has, you want to have them report the scams right away to these federal agencies. And if, let's say, for example, you suspect that somebody may have acquired your personal information and may be and may be using it to open up credit cards or establish credit, something that I strongly recommend to everyone, you want to at least check your credit at least twice a year. And you could do that. You can actually visit annualcreditreport.com, and you're entitled to a free credit report. And that credit report is a combination of Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, so that you're able to review it, make sure that all the accounts that are being reported were actually established by you. If there's any discrepancies, then you want to report it right away. And they make it very easy where you're able to actually dispute those items. But like I mentioned earlier, the minute you suspect, or let's say, for example, you receive a statement in the mail for a credit card that you yourself have not opened, you want to report that right away to the creditor. And one other point of information that I was going to say, be very careful when it comes to your personal information, and this is something that lots of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. There's no need for you to carry your social security card number, or, for example, your PIN numbers to your bank debit card or to your credit cards. Don't carry extra credit cards you don't need. Kind of stick to one credit card that you use to make all purchases, especially when you're making online purchases. You always want to stick to one credit card. This way, it's easy for you to keep track of your expenses, of your purchases, and in the event that there are some discrepancies, you're able to report it right away. And also, like what if you were to lose your wallet, your purse, having to report all those credit cards can be exhausting. Okay. So, be very, very mindful when it comes to your personal information and safeguard it. And last but not least, if you need any type of information or assistance, we have counselors that are available Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. And that can provide you with general information. It may be that you may have a question pertaining to landlord-tenant rights. It may be that you recently refinanced your mortgage and received a copy of a note and a deed of trust, and you have no knowledge of what that is. Or it may be that you may be suspect that there may be some fraudulent activity going on with your own personal information. We could definitely assist you. And if we're not able to provide you with the information that you are requesting, we will definitely refer you over to the appropriate agencies that can assist you with your needs. So one other thing too, I strongly encourage you to please visit our website, dcba.lacounty.gov/smarter senior forums. Everything that I pretty much discussed today, you will find tip sheets on it, information that you could further read up on in order for you to become a wary. I say wary because I do want you to be very careful and cautious when it comes to your own personal and financial information. And if there's anything that we can do to help you not become a victim, then that's what we want to do. Thank you so much for your time. It's honestly a pleasure to be able to sit here, talk to you, and go over our department services and how to make you a smarter senior. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet, for that informative presentation. It's shocking how many scams are out there targeting the most vulnerable of us. As family caregivers, we need to be aware of these scams and stay vigilant to make sure that our loved ones do not become victims. Many times, particularly if our loved ones have mild cognitive impairment or dementia, they become exposed to these situations and they panic by giving away all their personal information. Identity theft and financial loss are two very big factors when it comes to protecting our loved ones for whom we provide care. Thank you for joining me today as we learned about scams that target older adults and their families. And a big thank you to Janet Godoy for her wonderful presentation. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the USC Family Caregiver Support Center is here to help educate you, connect you to resources, and support you throughout your caregiving journey. Please be sure to visit us at www.fcsc.usc.edu or visit our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to learn more and connect with our center. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please help us by liking it below. Also, make sure to click on the red subscribe button also below to subscribe to our center's YouTube channel and be notified every time we post a new educational video for the caregiving community. Take good care of yourself, and until next time, just remember that caregivers fight on.